Hi, welcome to valuationpodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things related to business and valuation. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide online divorce mediation and valuation services in St. Louis, Missouri. Today, we will discuss the current housing market and divorce with Melissa Rubenstein. She is a former real estate attorney and a current realtor in New York and New Jersey, and has a lot of interesting perspectives in real estate, where everything's going. Welcome, Melissa. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you so much for
I think
having
it's,
me.
it's interesting because even your best tip and talking about these pre-inspection, these are really, really simple things that help the entire communication process.
Great.
They help, like we're already kind of in this contentious situation, but they allow us to have conversations to move it forward. Like in a lot of these cases, we can't just ignore the fact that we have a multi-million dollar home and neither one of us can afford it, or we need to really, a lot of times it can be afforded, right? But we need to take that $1 million home and maybe bring it down to two $500,000 homes
Right.
that are better for the next phase of this relationship, this family unit that is in now two locations. And I
Right.
think that when we get beyond, oh, we're selling our family home, it's really like, okay, how can we do this when we have trouble communicating? Oh, we need
Right.
to fix these things. Let's develop a budget. It's like pre-planning in my mind that makes a
Right.
lot of sense.
Right. And as you said, it tends to be people who are not on the same page. And my job is to get people on the same page of selling their home and
Hmm.
bring as much information as I can to the table so that we're having productive conversations, so that we're leaving a conversation saying, okay, we have a checklist of 5 things we need to be doing, 10 things, 15 things to get our home ready to for sale. And
Hmm.
once we're on the market, this is how it's going to work. And even planning for, okay, we're not sold at this price point. How are we going to plan for price reductions? If that's what the direction the market is going, are we going to talk every week? Are we going to, I don't want my clients saying, I just had a client who 3 days in, we had a ton of showings, and she said, I'm getting nervous about my house sale. I don't want my clients to be nervous. I want them
Right.
to expect what's going to happen. And as we said before, we are so used to the market where you throw anything on the market, 48 hours later, you have multiple offers. Well, that's not a normal real estate market. A
Right.
normal real estate market is it could take 30 to 60 days to sell a home because you're looking for the right person. Maybe the right person was at the football game on Sunday and didn't come to the open house. Got to give them a second chance. You have to give them a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to be able to
Right.
see the house. So I want to be upfront with my sellers and tell them what to expect from the current market.
But even then, like these conversations, having them had up front, especially when you're not having great communications, it's like, okay, when I tell you we need to have a price decrease, it could take you 2 weeks to have the conversation with them if they're
Right,
not talking, or if they're not, I mean, in some cases, they're not even allowed to communicate with each other
right,
during some time period. So I think that all of that is really helpful for them to go through the scenarios in advance. There's going
right.
to be
And
a
I want
scenario.
I
Yeah.
want both parties to feel like they are part of the process and part of the discussion. Sometimes I'm speaking to two lawyers, sometimes I'm speaking to two divorcing parties, and sometimes they've chosen one person to be the point person in the sale. But I do want to make sure that everybody's getting all the information so that there are no surprises when an offer comes in a little low or when we get the inspection report.
Well, but the reality is right now, there's going to be surprises because we know that the last 6 months is not going to repeat, but we really don't know in 6 months. And a lot of divorces, I mean, people might not want to know this, but they could take a year. It could take 2 years. I mean, I
Right,
just finished a divorce that started before the pandemic. So it's been 3 years. So when you have at least 6 to 12 months of the divorce, things can change, and that's why you need to have some of these triggers in place. If this happens, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? Because
right.
we know it's going to be unknown, but we can at least plan for some of these possibilities, right?
Right, exactly. So that conversation up front and throughout is incredibly important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been such a joy. I think you've given us a great perspective. We
Thank you
might
so much.
have you come back to talk about like